Hello everybody, I'm Krasi Attasio, and this is my week for the 12 ascendants. Before I tell you ascendant per ascendant how the sky will influence you, first to tell you that you will see the timestamps under this video so that you can click and see what is the prognosis for your particular ascendant. And also I will make a quick overview because actually this week is very important. It's not less important than the week before when we had the total solar eclipse which took place on the axis of Sagittarius Gemini. Now this week is also very, very important, and you may like to see my video on the disappearance of Venus, because Venus is already preparing to disappear. In 5 days, Venus will become invisible. 5-6 days depends on your position, your longitudes and latitudes. So Venus will disappear. This will say that Venus will hide in the rays of the sun. Venus will not be visible from our perspective. Actually, the planets never become, of course, invisible literally, but symbolically when they hide from our perspective, when we cannot see them. With this, they signify disappearance of something, what they mean, what they represent. So if Venus represents money, if Venus represents our love lives, friendships, joy, this would say that with her disappearance in 5 days, but she's already actively disappearing in the rays of the sun, this would say that with this she will not support what she means, and this is, she will not support finances, she will not support love, friendships, and all that Venus means. Now, when Venus is invisible, she's definitely not bad. She has different nature. She's very fine, very deep, very esoteric, very intuitive. So her nature is very much changed. But with her disappearance, she will not support important parts of our everyday routine life and important things, like she will not support the finances, she will not support the relationships of people. And even some cultures like in India, people would not commit marriage, or will not get married or make the marriage ritual while Venus is invisible. They will wait until Venus appears in the rays of the sun. So what is happening is that tomorrow, today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday, 8th of July, Venus starts to disappear. It's like she's preparing to disappear. She's active already. And with this, you can see how this influences the markets, which are very volatile when Venus is not supporting them at all. And I made very detailed separate prognosis on this. So this is just to prepare you on what is happening in the incoming week. So on the 14th, 15th, depends for your position. You will not be able to see Venus anymore up until October. Another important event, of course, is the eclipse, which is happening on the 16th of July. And this is the lunar eclipse, which is very, very interesting. You can see my separate video on this, but this particular eclipse is very ominous because it is happening on the day when Venus is disappearing, and this is happening while on the sky we have other two invisible planets. But for this I'll talk later or another video. For sure I will keep you informed. So let's start with Ascendant Aries, and just let me remind you that this is of course very general because everyone's horoscope is unique, but let this be like your guideline on really what to expect from the sky in general, and not really very, very specifically, but still can be very useful. Now for Ascendant Aries, this particular active phases of the disappearance of Venus, which right now is also afflicted by Saturn, they are both in opposition, is influencing your third house of studies, long distance travels, brothers and sisters, and so many more, communication. And when this is happening, this is certainly when you're a little bit limited. It's like it's not advisable very much for you to travel long distance. You may, but you have to be careful and intuitive. It is so that because Venus is ruling your finances, you may need to do additional efforts in terms of finances. So this is also very important to know. Venus is also ruling your relationships, so you need to be very diplomatic, very careful, very loving up until October. And of course, while Venus will be invisible, because Venus is ruling your 7th house of your relationship. So this is also very important to tell you. Now, you may face some challenges at work, career-wise, and you may need to be very careful when it comes to communication and travel. This is very important. The week is not bad. It is just so that it may involve additional efforts when it comes to the activities which I listed. Also, in terms of education, you may desire to recheck, or exams that you may need to redo. This is also possible. And there also you may need to do additional efforts. In any case, efforts is the word. This is what this week may involve. And in terms of finances, the week is not bad, but when Venus is not there to support you, this would say more work, more efforts, more diplomacy in many life areas for Ascendant Aries. Now, let's see Ascendant Taurus. Of course, for you, this disappearance of Venus is very, very important because Venus is ruling your ascendant. Right now, when she's disappearing on your 2nd house, which is related to money. And with this, also for you, you may need to invest additional efforts when it comes to making money. Also, it may be so that you feel a little bit unlucky because your ascendant ruler will be invisible. It's like you may feel that you do not have so much support, or you feel a little bit unlucky. Well, actually, here is important to say that this disappearance of a planet is actually on not real disappearance. It is only from our perspective. And important to say it also that if you are very intuitive, if you're very diplomatic, if you're very structured, because Venus is also afflicted by Saturn, and this is happening on the axis of your 2nd and 8th houses. If you're very structured, you will be able to maintain also luckier status quo, and you may be lucky also in your everyday business. This is important to say because when Saturn is affecting business, your ascendant ruler, he's limiting you and saying that you need to be a bit more structured, a bit more detailed in what you do, also in your communication, like watch out, be careful, be diplomatic. In terms of travel and sharing knowledge and communicating and negotiating, the week is not very beneficial for you because of the invisible Mars and Mercury, which are on your 3rd house. Spirituality, the week is interesting. It's even wonderful because these planets, 2 invisible planets on your 3rd house, can give you depth and interest in esoterics or studies. So for some things, these 2 invisible planets can be very interesting, can give you ambition and desire to study. Now, your relationship, there you may need to be a bit more patient, to be more diplomatic, and to give more time, and to be loving to your partner, because there is where you may have some, in terms of finances, as I told you, structure is the right word. Travel, be careful. It's not the most appropriate word week for traveling. Gemini ascendant. Now for you, Venus and Saturn both in powerful heliacophases are happening on the axis of your ascendant and descendant. And of course, this is important. And of course, this may result in emotional or real events. It depends on how these two planets are placed on your chart. But the disappearance of Venus on your ascendant can impact your private life, your relationship, your love life. Also can bring the desire to deeply understand and research and study new notions, new knowledges, new secret sciences, or all those studies which are not really related to the matrix, all those creative studies. Now, this is one thing. Then in terms of money, the week is not very beneficial for you. It could be that you have the desire and the ambition to for new projects and money, but since your ascendant ruler is invisible, retrograde together with Mars, you may not be very lucky. And right now, on the two eclipses, the one on the 2nd of July and the coming eclipse on the 16th of July happened on the axis of your ascendant, descendant. Therefore, this week is not very lucky for undertaking any new initiatives. During this week, it's good to maintain the routine status quo. You can do studies, you can do spiritual work, and be very patient with at home, with people that you love, with your partner. Now, it is also so that in terms of travel, you may need to be careful. You may need to be also responsible for your health. When eclipse is happening, not for the first time on this particular axis of your ascendant, descendant, it's really good that you are responsible for your health, and to know that even if you feel a little bit unlucky, it is temporary and good times will come. Just it is usually what is happening around the eclipses. Yes. So basically, if you feel a bit melancholic, note this is the eclipses, this is Saturn on your descendant, this time will pass. Now let's see Cancer rising. Cancer. Yes. Now, for you, your week actually, again, is it's very interesting because you have two invisible planets on your ascendant, which would bring desire to travel, to communicate, some impulsive new ideas related to projects at work, but this may not be the most appropriate timing. And also keep in mind that the two planets important in the heliacophases, Saturn and the disappearing Venus, are happening on the axis of your 6th, 12th house, and this can be related to friendships, to subordinates, to people which are to your routine life, and there you may have some challenges. At work, this can create some challenges. So you may need to be, even though you may have impulses for new projects, for creative plannings and stuff, you may need really to be very diplomatic and to put all this on hold and wait until those energies really pass, because these are quite powerful heliacophases of eclipses, and also of planets which are active, and like they have strong presence right now this week. Planets in heliacophases, which are the disappearing Venus and Saturn, excuse me. Now, the week is not entirely bad because Jupiter will take care for your good luck, but it could be so that you may need to be very responsible for your health, be diplomatic with subordinates, be careful with colleagues, like don't share your plans, because you may have people which are jealous around you, a bit envious. So this is what it possibly can happen. Financially, the week is not very beneficial for you, but it's not beneficial for almost no one, because Venus represents our money, and Venus is actually not going to be very supportive this week. So maintain your routine status quo with your spirituality, use your powerful intuition, maintain good health with with healthy lifestyle, and you'll be okay. And when you have impulses to create, to go into new projects, I would say better wait. Leo rising. For you, right now the week is interesting because you have the Sun and Venus on your 11th house, with opposition with Saturn, so it's quite complex, quite interesting, but also, of course, it's complex. Venus rules your 10th house of your career, rules your 3rd house of your spirituality, communication, and when she's disappearing, she may create issues related to your career, like you may need to do additional efforts when it comes to career, achieving career goals, plans, projects. Also, when it comes to communication, it could be that you need to do more efforts in order to be heard, to be understood. Negotiations may not be the most appropriate timing for doing. Also, in terms of money, once she disappears, she may not be the week will not be so beneficial when it comes to money. But again, the Sun remains on your 11th house also this week, and this will be very supportive. Supportive in many senses, supportive in terms of good energies, good health. You may need also this week, I know I'm repeating myself, but it's important that I tell you to be very much watching after your children, really, so that you are on the safe side. This is important to tell you. Otherwise, the week can be very beneficial when it comes to interesting studies of creativity, of spirituality. This is the week when you can you can reach interesting information and truths and spiritual facts, and it's quite powerful because Saturn is in a powerful heliacal phase in a place which is related to the creative knowledge. But also, as I said, be careful and cautious when it comes to children. Now for Virgo rising. Now for you, you may have some challenges at work. And if you had this good energy for achieving plans, for having new ideas, new projects, it may be so that these energies will a little bit be suppressed right now with the disappearance of Venus. And you may feel that this is not the luckiest period for you, especially when you know that you had two eclipses taking place on the axis of your 10th and 4th houses. The disappearance of Venus will bring you to interesting phase of your education, like will give you depth, will give you interest in hidden esoteric knowledges, will reveal secrets to you. So all this is very interesting and is very possible as well. Now, in terms of money, the week will not be very beneficial for you because Venus is ruling also your house of money, and is having her heliacal disappearance. So this would say that you may need to involve additional efforts when it comes to making money, career-wise, money-wise. You may need to be very diplomatic. You may need to be diplomatic when communicating with superiors. And the week will not be very appropriate for new beginnings and for negotiations. Also, in terms of social life, in terms of the week is interesting there, you will not be limited, but still, when it comes to communication, also with your social circle, with the friends, when it comes to communication, you may need to revise, to recheck, to be very well prepared in order your message to be well understood. So be diplomatic at work. Don't expect success right now career-wise, and remember, this is not valid only for you. Actually, right now it's quite complex on the sky, and we are between two eclipses, so it's not very easy. It's tense on the sky. Just be spiritual, use your intuition, and when it comes to negotiations, postpone. It's not the right moment. Okay, and now let's see Libra Ascendant. All right. Now for you, Venus is ruling your ascendant, so it's very important, particularly important for you when Venus is becoming invisible from our perspective. She never will be invisible, but she becomes invisible from our perspective, and it's happening on your ninth house, which is about Venus also rules your eighth. So becoming invisible on your ninth house, of course, this will be related to communication, to studies, negotiations, siblings, and there is where you may need to be a bit careful. It's like the week will not be very appropriate to negotiate, to travel, you may have some small challenges with siblings, and there you need to be patient, and there you need to be loving and wise and intuitive. Also, when your ascendant ruler is disappearing, this can put you in a very interesting state of desiring to have solitude, for example, or to be in isolation, or to go into diving deeply into esoteric secret sciences. This is also very possible, can put you in a very intuitive state of mind, like you feel very intuitive and a bit vulnerable as well. So this is important to know. Career-wise, it could be that you have the environment could be a little bit hostile, not very, very harmonious. Therefore, be intuitive, use your intuition, be diplomatic. Also, when it comes to your partner at home, this is also very important. The week is not very, very appropriate for travel and negotiation, but if you desire to do so, use your intuition and prepare, double check, triple check every single detail around this. Jupiter will be saving you, but still it's good to be on the safe side. Now let's see Scorpio rising. Now for you, your ascendant ruler is invisible. And this is interesting. Mars, invisible with Mercury, and on the other hand, Pluto with Saturn. So it must be, still Jupiter is saving you to give you retrograde though, but still very much saving you and blessing you on your ascendant. Jupiter will be giving you another interesting state of philosophical thinking, of your belief system, of your spirituality, and this is for quite some time already. But when your ascendant rulers are in such positions that Mars is invisible, with this he's not powerful, Saturn is afflicting Pluto. Now with this, you may not be in the most harmonious moment of your life, but when you rely on Jupiter, on his philosophical nature, on his joyful, beautiful, happy nature, you will go through this period quite easily. Now the disappearance for you can mean that you may have some challenges with your relationship, private life, and this would say that there you may need to do additional efforts in order everything to be good and to be happy. So this is important to tell you. Also, in terms of finances, you may need to do additional efforts, and the week may not be very, very appropriate for you to travel. So if you desire to travel and to negotiate, I would say postpone or be very well prepared, use your intuition, and double check, triple check every single detail. In terms of spirituality and intuition, the week can be very interesting. Once because you're supported by the joyful, philosophical, deep nature of the retrograde Jupiter in Scorpio, but also because your ascendant ruler is very interestingly placed together with Mercury to give you some very interesting spiritual, esoteric state of mind, because all this is happening on your ninth house in Cancer. So the week is very interesting from one point of view and can be a bit complex, and can desire your diplomacy, intuition when communicating with others. Sagittarius ascendant. Now, this week may not be very easy for you because you have eclipses happening on your ascendant. The ascendant axis, also the eclipses on the 16th will take place on the same axis, but the eclipses are something that when they pass and when the energies go away, we kind of rewarded after that. Either it will bring you wisdom, or it will enhance your intuition, or it will give depth of your philosophical, analytical knowledge. So in I know they're not easy because they're happening when happening on your ascendant descendant axis. They can, to a degree, make you a bit melancholic or lock your luck for a while, but still this is temporary. And be patient, because you will be very much relieved after those eclipses pass and their energies, and especially after Saturn leaves your ascendant, which is happening in January 2020. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's maybe good to remind you that, oh, this is temporary. And after Saturn is away, you will be very much relieved and rewarded, that is for sure. Now, Venus and the Sun are on your 7th, so it's quite busy on your ascendant descendant axis. And when Venus, which rules your 6th house, and your 11th house is disappearing, with this, financially you may need to do additional efforts when it comes to finances, and also health-wise, you may need to be responsible for your health. Don't forget to maintain healthy lifestyle. Indeed, support your health with herbal means, so that you have good and healthy immune system, because Venus is ruling your 6th house, and it's important to tell you this. So also relationship-wise, even invisible, being on your 7th house, she's still blessing for you also this week. But when she's invisible, you may need to involve additional efforts, diplomacy, and love in your private life. Yes, in terms of travel and negotiations, this also for you, this may not be the most luckiest, appropriate week, but don't forget, this is almost valid for everyone. It's just so that the sky right now is complex. It's complex up there, and what above, so below. So all those energies impact us immediately. Whatever happens above, it results in events below. Capricorn ascendant. Now with you, this week maybe a bit disharmonious, and especially because Mars and Mercury are on your 7th house, so they can create some impulsive emotional environments in your private life. And that is where you need to be diplomatic and very, very, very patient and wise. Venus is ruling your 10th house, is ruling your 5th house. So yes, in your love life, you need to be patient, wise, and also career-wise. Also, with your subordinates, it's good that you are diplomatic and you don't entirely trust them. Take good care of your health, maintain healthy lifestyle. Financially, actually interesting, the week is not that bad for you, but because the Venus's disappearance, you may need to involve additional efforts when it comes to finances. But in any case, Jupiter is taking care that the week is not entirely bad. And believe me, it's quite complex and quite bad on the sky. If you feel, again, also this week, because of the powerful state of Saturn in Heliacophas on your 12th house, this desire for self-isolation, still do this very spiritually, involve a lot of wisdom and patience, and still remember that you're having the divine support of Jupiter. And even if you have melancholic thoughts and state of mind, remember that you have the divine support from above, from the spirit world, because of the wonderful placement of Jupiter. Yes, let's see Aquarius. Now for you, yes, for you this week, in terms of creativity, can be very interesting, in terms of creative studies as well. Subordinates, I wouldn't trust. Health-wise, it's good that you take good care of your routinely to maintain good health. Career-wise, you are supported. The week is not so bad. You may have some challenges with friendships, and it's very good in your social circle, and it's very good and very important that you are very attentive and very careful, and just don't watch for good for your children, so that you are really on the safe side. In terms of communication and travel, actually the week is not that bad, but your negotiations and travel and communication is it's almost not really, almost for no one supported. So when you'll be traveling or negotiating, it's very good that you're very well prepared, very diplomatic, very intuitive. Yes, career-wise, the week is okay. Actually, the week is not that bad for you, but be attentive towards children and diplomatic. And yes, when it comes to subordinates, that is what your attention point, and your routine work and the competition at work. That is where you may have a bit hostile environment, not with the superiors, but more with the subordinates. And yes, maintain good health with maintaining healthy lifestyle. Pisces ascendant. Now, you may have challenges at work with superiors. The week may not be very appropriate for travel and negotiations. And yes, you may also need to be patient with your beloved ones. You may need to also at home with parents is where you may need to be patient. Now, in terms of spirituality, your ascendant ruler is it's making harmonious aspect to your ascendant. So this is very interesting. It can put you in interesting philosophical, psychological state of mind, like reviewing, revising your belief system even more, because now it's so active, everything on the sky, and the depth of because Scorpio is ruling your ascendant ruler is in the sign of Scorpio, ruling, making harmonious aspect to your ascendant. And because Mars is ruling Scorpio and Mars is invisible with Mercury, you may really have this very interesting desire to go deep into knowledge. You may have this impulse to travel, to do new studies. I would say this is very interesting and wonderful to dig into new studies and new teaching and new knowledge, but be careful and double check, triple check every single detail if you will desire to travel. When it comes to private life and relationships, it's also that is where you need to be patient and diplomatic and wise and intuitive. All this you need to combine in order to have easy week. In terms of finances, also the week may not be very, very beneficial, and therefore you may need to involve additional efforts when it comes to finances. Now, when you use your intuition, when you're very disciplined, I'm sure that the week will be okay. And if with some additional efforts, you'll be able to maintain normal work, normal routine, normal status quo. Just be very spiritual, very wise and diplomatic and structured, and your efforts will give results in your private life and also career-wise, where your challenges are because of the powerful heliacal phase of Saturn on your 10th house. So when it comes to negotiating with superiors, you really need to be very, very diplomatic and even postpone for better timing. Now it's too tense on the sky, and especially knowing that the two eclipses are happening on your axis of your work, of your career. So that is where you're a little bit unlucky right now. So be patient, wait for some months to pass. And if you desire to have new projects, negotiations, you may need to wait and postpone a little bit. So this was actually my brief overview of the week to come and the 12 ascendants. I hope this was useful, just to give you indication of two important celestial events and the general situation on the sky. Now, of course, the charts that everyone is unique. So of course this was an overview, it was basic. So in case that you like to have deeper, detailed analysis of your natal charts, you may contact me, and my contact details are under this video. Thank you.